Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something simple. Why is it so hard to do the things we know we need to do? We all have goals, dreams, and plans, yet we often delay. We procrastinate, make excuses, and say, "I'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow turns into next week, next month, or never. Many people believe they need to feel motivated before they can act. They wait for inspiration, thinking once they feel ready, everything will fall into place. But that's a trap. Waiting for motivation is one of the biggest mistakes we make. Motivation is unreliable, it comes and goes, often disappearing when we need it most. That's why action must come first. Take something as simple as going for a morning run. When the alarm rings, you don't feel like moving. You're tired, sluggish, and unmotivated. But the moment you force yourself to put on your shoes and step outside, everything changes. The first few minutes may be rough, but your body warms up, your mind adjusts, and soon you're running with ease. Motivation didn't come before, you earned it by starting. This principle applies everywhere. Writers battling writer's block, gym goers dreading workouts, employees avoiding tough tasks, all discover that once they begin, motivation shows up. Action creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. Psychologically, our brains are wired to resist discomfort. They crave ease and avoid effort. So when a task seems hard, resistance kicks in. But once we start, the brain adapts. The task feels less intimidating, and our energy shifts. The hardest part is always beginning. Once you grasp this truth, everything changes. You stop waiting to feel inspired and start acting regardless of how you feel. Even small steps matter. Tiny movements, repeated over time, build massive momentum. That's how discipline beats motivation every time. The most successful people don't wait to feel like it, they act. And let motivation catch up. Think about someone who wants to launch a business but keeps putting it off. They wait for the perfect moment, the right mindset, but it never arrives. If they just took one small step, like researching an idea or writing a plan, they'd start building momentum. Progress leads to motivation, not the other way around. The same goes for building confidence. Confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. As you take action, you improve. As you improve, you become more confident. That's growth. This shift in mindset puts the power back in your hands. You're no longer controlled by your emotions. You're in charge because you choose to act. And those small, consistent actions compound into big results over time. Momentum, once created, sustains itself. Think of it like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, it takes effort to get it moving. But once it spins, it becomes easier and faster to turn. The same applies to your habits, goals, and routines. So don't focus on the whole task. Just focus on the next move. Don't stress about running 5 miles. Just put on your shoes. Don't worry about finishing a report. Just write 1 sentence. Don't feel overwhelmed by a messy house. Just clean 1 corner. That first step breaks the resistance, and motivation follows. What separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck isn't talent or intelligence. It's the ability to take action before they feel like it. They show up, they push through discomfort, they act first and let results build their motivation. Our brains evolved to protect us from discomfort. It used to keep us alive. But in today's world, that instinct often works against us. Success demands stepping outside our comfort zones. Yet our minds resist. That's why so many people stay stuck. They wait for things to feel easy. But growth comes through challenge. Discomfort is not a sign to stop, it's a sign you're growing. When you feel resistance, it's not a warning, it's evidence you're pushing your limits. Every time you feel discomfort, you're leveling up. Think of building muscle. It's uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but that very pain is what causes the muscle to grow. The same is true for personal growth. If it's always easy, you're not evolving. Discomfort is the price of progress. Remember the first time you tried something new, public speaking, a difficult skill, or starting a project? It felt awkward, uncomfortable, but over time, with repetition, it became second nature. That's how all growth happens. Everyone starts out unsure. Everyone faces fear. The difference is some people push through it. Most stop too soon, assuming they're not ready. But those who endure discomfort eventually master their craft. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It keeps you stuck, convincing you that good enough is all you can achieve. But you're capable of far more. The people who do extraordinary things don't avoid struggle, they embrace it. They understand that resistance is part of the process, not a reason to quit. Often, the discomfort we avoid is driven by fear of failure, judgment, or the unknown. But fear isn't a stop sign. It means you're entering new territory. And that's where transformation happens. You gain confidence by acting in the face of uncertainty. Discomfort also separates the interested from the committed. Many want success. Few are willing to fight for it. Those who persevere through struggle are the ones who rise. So shift your perspective. Stop avoiding discomfort, embrace it. Lean into the tough conversations, the difficult tasks, the uncertain steps. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you become stronger. The first step is always the hardest. That's where the mental battle is fiercest. Our brains stall us with doubts and overthinking. But remember, no one ever truly feels ready. Readiness is a myth. The people who make progress are the ones who act despite feeling unsure. Think about a rocket. It burns the most fuel at liftoff, just to escape gravity. But once it's in motion, everything becomes smoother. Your goals work the same way. The beginning requires the most effort. But once you break free of inertia, the rest gets easier. The first day at the gym is tough, but a few weeks in, it's routine. Writing the first page of a book feels intimidating, but keep writing. And the ideas flow. The first sales call feels terrifying, but soon you're making them with confidence. Stop waiting for motivation. It's not the starting line, it's the byproduct of movement. Even the smallest action signals your brain to engage. And once you're engaged, motivation builds. To overcome the mental block of starting, make the first step so small it's impossible to resist. Break down big goals into bite-sized actions. Want to run a marathon? Just put on your shoes. Want to learn a new language? Start with one word. The key is to start small and start now. Fear of failure and perfectionism keep many people stuck. But failure isn't the enemy, inaction is. Every successful person has failed. But they kept going. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They started messy and improved along the way. Excellence is built on experience. And experience only comes from starting. So don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't let fear or discomfort rob you of your potential. Start now. Start small, but start. That's where the magic begins. The real challenge isn't just getting started, it's staying consistent. This is where habits take over. Progress shouldn't rely on emotions or bursts of motivation. It should be rooted in routine. The more you repeat an action, the easier it gets. What once felt like a struggle becomes second nature. Going to the gym fits into your day like brushing your teeth. Writing becomes automatic. Learning a skill starts to feel familiar. You no longer have to push yourself to start. Momentum handles that. This principle applies to every part of life. Whether you're chasing a dream, creating a new habit, or making a tough choice, the hardest part is always that first step. But once you move, everything else becomes easier. The key is to take action before your mind has a chance to talk you out of it. The longer you hesitate, the harder it becomes. Even a small step breaks the cycle of delay and lays the groundwork for long-term success. Successful people don't sit around waiting for inspiration to show up. They know that relying on motivation is a losing game. If action depended on feeling ready, nothing meaningful would ever happen. Instead, they've trained themselves to follow through, no matter their mood. That's what discipline is. Doing what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable. Our brains are wired to avoid pain and chase comfort. We naturally lean toward what's easy and fun, and shy away from anything that feels hard or uncertain. That's why starting a tough project, hitting the gym, or sticking to a goal feels like a battle. The mind tries to conserve energy and avoid stress. It tells us we'll do it later, when we're more ready. But that readiness rarely comes. That's why discipline is far more dependable than motivation. Discipline means showing up, doing the work, and staying on track even when it's not exciting. Think of a professional athlete. They don't train only when they're in the mood. They stick to their schedule no matter what. A musician doesn't wait for the perfect inspiration to practice. They rehearse daily because they know mastery comes through repetition. A writer doesn't wait for a creative high to start writing. They write consistently. Even when it's hard. The common thread between all high achievers? They act, no matter how they feel. Discipline often gets misunderstood as forcing yourself to suffer. But really, it's about making action automatic. The more a habit is repeated, the easier it becomes. Waking up early might feel brutal at first, but over time, your body adjusts. A person who once hated working out can grow to crave it. What once took effort becomes a normal part of life. A powerful way to grow discipline is by minimizing decisions. If you rely on motivation, you'll constantly ask, "Do I feel like doing this today?" That question opens the door to excuses. But when discipline is in place, the decision is already made. There's no debate, you just do it. It becomes part of who you are. That's another key. Focus on identity, not just outcomes. Don't say, "I have to work out today." Say, "I'm someone who works out." Don't say, "I need to build my business." Say, "I'm an entrepreneur." When your actions match your identity, discipline becomes natural. You're not forcing behavior. You're living in alignment with who you want to be. What holds most people back is that initial resistance. The first step toward any goal feels like a mountain. The brain floods you with excuses. But once you start moving, it gets easier. The person who struggles to begin a workout often finds that after a few minutes, they've hit their stride. A writer who types out one awkward sentence often ends up finishing a full page. Getting started is the toughest part. But fear and discomfort aren't signs to stop. They're signs that growth is happening. Every successful person has faced moments of doubt, frustration, and hesitation. The difference is, they moved anyway. They didn't wait for the perfect mood. They understood that emotions are fleeting, but the results of disciplined action last. Even when motivation is gone, discipline keeps them going. They show up, they do the work, and they keep moving forward. Every action reinforces an identity. The more you do something, the more you see yourself as someone who does it. That's how habits shape identity, and how identity shapes future behavior. If you consistently work out, you begin to see yourself as someone who values health. If you write every day, you don't just do writing, you are a writer. If you regularly lead and make decisions, you start to see yourself as a confident leader. Identity isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through action. Each decision is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And the more you align with that identity, the easier it is to keep behaving in ways that support it. But many people let their past define them. They think, "I've never been disciplined," or "I'm just not good at this." And those thoughts become reality. But identity isn't fixed, it's fluid. It's shaped by what you do, not what you've been. A person who believes they're lazy will act lazy and prove that belief true. But if they take even one small action, they begin to shift that narrative. Do it again tomorrow? Now they're building momentum. Eventually, they stop seeing themselves as lazy. They see themselves as someone who gets things done. A big mistake people make is thinking they need a new identity before they take action. They think, "Once I feel confident, I'll speak up," or "Once I'm disciplined, I'll wake up early." But confidence doesn't come first, action does. Discipline isn't a feeling, it's a habit built through repeated effort. Even small steps matter. Read 1 page a day, and you're becoming a reader. Run for 2 minutes a day, and you're becoming a runner. It's not the size of the action, it's the consistency. But negative habits work the same way. Skip a workout, reinforce inconsistency. Procrastinate, reinforce a lack of focus. Every choice strengthens a certain identity. That's why consistency is so important. It's not about perfection, it's about making sure most of your actions match the person you want to become. Momentum is powerful. Repeating an action makes it easier to repeat again. Your brain picks up the pattern and starts to automate it. What once felt hard becomes effortless. That's how people go from struggling with a habit to embodying it fully. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems and identity-driven habits. They act daily, even in small ways, to reinforce who they want to be. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum through action. Real progress isn't about big leaps, it's about small, consistent steps. The most successful people understand that growth comes from daily effort, not sudden breakthroughs. The secret to long-term success isn't intensity, it's consistency. A person who reads for 10 minutes a day finishes dozens of books in a year. Someone who writes a page a day ends up with a book. A person who works out for 20 minutes daily builds a healthier body. These small efforts don't seem impressive day to day, but over time, they change everything. One of the hardest parts is staying consistent when you don't see immediate results. People expect quick wins, but growth is like boiling water. You don't see anything happening until suddenly, the water turns to steam. The temperature was rising the whole time. The breakthrough just wasn't visible yet. That's how success works too. Most people quit just before they hit their tipping point. Consistency takes patience. It means believing in the process even when there's no proof yet. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. The goal isn't rapid transformation, it's steady progress. Big goals are often intimidating, so break them into small steps. Can't commit to an hour workout? Start with 5 minutes. Can't write a chapter? Write a paragraph. Once you begin, it's easier to keep going. Also, stop obsessing over results. Focus on the process. Runners who run daily, not for weight loss, but for the love of the routine, stick with it longer. Writers who write because it's part of their day improve faster than those chasing perfection. Process-focused people succeed because they stay consistent through setbacks. Accountability helps too. Whether it's a coach, mentor, teacher, journal, or app, having something to keep you on track increases follow-through. That's why top performers build support systems. In the end, success isn't about extraordinary effort once in a while, it's about doing the simple things consistently. The people who succeed are the ones who show up daily, trust the process, and let small steps compound into big change over time.